hopefully this weekend I'll get through the rest of my paragraphs, or your paragraphs, to get them graded, okay? So, Starbucks, what'd you get?
The cappuccino.
It's just a cappuccino? What, you don't have any shots of anything in there or whatever, bless you? I don't drink coffee, so.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm one of those quirky people. I do not like hot things on the top of my lip.
Oh.
And that's what drinking, that happens when you drink hot things. I don't drink hot chocolate. So, just one of those quirks. Okay. All right. Good morning. Or something. Don't spell it. I have one student who's been exposed to COVID in my Monday, Wednesday classes. I think it's Monday, Wednesday. And then, where's she in? No, she's in the 9 o'clock class. And, so she's gone for 2 weeks. I was like, oh, man, just what you need. And then I got notice on another student that I don't have, but it was somebody who was on a wait list to get into one of my sections. And I'm like, okay. It's, when you do that, it stays on your planner thing, so. Good morning, everybody. Morning, last buddy. I'll see you tomorrow, Haley, okay? I'm gonna bring donuts, so I'm gonna bring half a dozen plain, and then I'll get some mixed ones, all right? And you and I can pig out.
Oh, now I'm
I see you
hungry
guys
for
every day.
donuts.
I see them once a semester, okay? If you guys wanna get up and go with me to Last Buddy in the morning, you can do that. You're gonna pass on that one? I just put a book on Audible and listen, and I can get through, well, the books I listen to they run about 20 to 25 hours long. They're long books. They're strictly fiction, all right? I don't listen to self-help, things to make me better. I'm sorry. I want to be entertained. On the long drive like that, stay awake, so. All right, we're ahead of the game. Yes, we had Tuesday and my Wednesday classes had to cover tons of stuff yesterday. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at the narrative outline, which is due Sunday night. It's not even really an outline. It's more of a kind of helping you kind of focus and make sure that where you're going is going to be entertaining to read, I hope. And then we're going to work on some grammar. So hopefully you got copies of the grammar sheets over comma splices and fused run-on sentences. That is, you have a test next Friday over that. Tomorrow, and this will hurt Haley because I will be there. Tomorrow you're supposed to quiz over chapters 3 and 4 in the textbook. And do you want me to tell you how to do well on those tests? Okay, it's real easy. I don't know if you're looking at the book or not. The book is an e-book, right? So I would suggest before you take the test, particularly for these guys, because they have a much longer time frame to take it, and technically y'all can take it. You've got till midnight to get it taken. But look in the book, go into chapter 3, look for the headings, subheaders, anything say bullet point out, make a note of what page it's on in the e-book, and then open up the test. And so when you see a question, you know where the information's located. And in my mind, I'm not really saying, I'm showing you how to be smart, right? Because why do textbooks have headers and subheaders? Not so you can cheat, but so you can see where the important information is. That's what it's about. So anything that's pulled out, it's gonna, for some reason I have my iPad in here and I need to turn the volume down. It's not quite like my phone where I can. So we're gonna do some grammar and punctuation. And the other reason you have the sheets is so that when you take the grammar quiz, you have explanations for what you're gonna be working on, and you have samples. Because, in my mind, I always did better in math when they gave me samples, except of course there was always one that didn't exactly fit. That's why I do English instead. All right. So, what we're gonna look at is the narrative outline. Got it blown up. So, these are questions you're gonna answer, and that's one reason why you have a hard copy. When you do it in Blackboard, that's what I was gonna show you. When you do it in Blackboard, okay, I'm in your class. They all look the same, I don't know why it matters. Go into course content, you're in week 2, because remember, for me, weeks run from Monday to Sunday. So you click on week 2, and as you go down, you can see the checklist, how it says 9/12, turn an outline of narrative to Blackboard discussion by midnight. Just scroll on down till you see narrative outline. There's the questions we're gonna be answering, so you just go to narrative outline, create thread, and see, it pulls the questions back up for you. So, the easiest way to answer them is to go, like, and look, I tell you what pages the exact questions are from the textbook. So I'm just gonna highlight and copy. That's the easiest thing to do, right? Paste it in here. Keep the formatting, because it makes it look better. And there are the questions, and then you just answer them. But that means you have to have done some thinking about what you're gonna write about. I mean, have you guys settled on that? Well, I think we have a draft due next Thursday to do peer revision on. Well, let's see, we already discussed intros and conclusions, so I'm gonna have to scratch that. Work on drafted narrative. Yeah. Oh, you've got another week, so we're kinda going slow on this. That's the good news, okay? You've got everything there, Reed, okay? So you just fill in the questions, come on. Once you copy, cut, and paste them in there, just answer the questions. And this is not, I'm not looking for super long answers, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, on Tuesday, I'm gonna open up what you put into Blackboard, and I'm just gonna read through everybody's. And I'm gonna tell you what I think. So you're getting a first quick review, and I might say, oh, that, but, of the outline, yeah. So, and these outlines are 25 points. Remember, there's lots of, you've got about 150 points for every paper. This outline's 25 points on 3 assignments. So, you want to do it. So let's look at the questions. The first one says, what is the conflict or source of tension in your essay? If you're gonna write about your trip to the Bahamas, what's the conflict? Well, conflict's not always something negative, or the tension. The tension is going over there and having fun. And then just write down whatever your point is. My family's trip to the Bahamas was fantastic, we had lots of fun. That's a nice broad thesis, isn't it? I've had one student show up in my office already asking about how to write a thesis for the narrative paper. And this individual was gonna write about his relationship with his father. So he was like, well, how do I come up with the points? And I said, listen, if you're gonna write about your relationship with your father, you wanna be as vague as possible in that thesis. And so I said, here's what you can write. My relationship with my father is very complicated. You see how with that you can write both positive and negative things in whatever story, whatever narrative you're gonna tell about your relationship. So that's something to think about. And that's just what he chose to do. And I was like, I haven't had anybody in my office in so long, unless it was to make up work. It was kinda like, cool, somebody wants help up front. And just to remind you that there are resources for you guys to use. Tutor.com, which is from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., Monday through Thursday, and then 8 p.m. Friday till 8 a.m. Monday morning. So you've got lots of nighttime that you can put your paper in, and you can actually synchronously discuss with somebody online. You can have a live tutor help you, or you can put it in and they can get back to you, okay? So, and there should be somebody in the tutoring center over in Building 3, where I'm right across from my office, actually. So if you're not great on grammar, punctuation, mechanics, that might be a resource to help with that. And here's they also are doing online tutoring this year. The SPC tutors are, from what I understand. But for you guys, librarians will help you too. Most of them are English teachers who got tired of teaching and wanted to be with books all the time. So they go climb in their little library hole and stay in there. So No, but it's true, a lot of English teachers become librarians, so I probably need to be one. All right, let's go back over here. So what is the source or conflict, the tension in your essay? Because there's got to be something going on in there. It could just be whatever you're going to do. Whether it's your relationship with somebody else in your family, your hero, like possibly whoever your hero is, the tension might be something they've gone through in your life. I know that, again, when I was working in the high school, and I actually taught ITV while I was teaching high school too. And I had other schools, so their first paper was a personal hero. And a lot of times they wrote about grandparents or a grandfather who'd had to quit school early and work on the farm to help, support his mother and siblings, things like that. So that tension is, the difficulties someone has gone through in life to become the person they are. So that's a possibility. The tension in what you would do if you had $1 million is, well, the tension is what do you consider important? If you think about it, is it important to buy yourself a big pickup truck? Yeah, but paying off your parents' debts, there's some tension in there. Obviously, if you're having to pay your parents to pay off debt, then there's a tension, financial tension in the family, right? Do you see where I'm coming from? So that's what this first sentence is about. And so what statement have you chosen? Sorry, there's a typo on my part, and I changed it yesterday when I noticed it was wrong too, but not in y'all's document. So whatever your final sentence is in your introduction, my dad is my hero, my dad is not my hero, my dad and I, the relationship between my father and myself is complicated. That's a thesis. So the tension is the relationship. That's how you fill that in. The second one says the incident should be limited in time. You cannot write about 50 years in 500 words. It's just really tough. Unless you're going to talk about your grandfather who lived through the Great Depression, had to start working on the farm when he was young, but is now a multimillionaire. There's the time period, it could be that long. You just might be covering all the sections. So you got to focus on what specific things you're going to pull out of 50 years. As I told you, one of the greatest short stories ever written is called The Story of an Hour. And it takes place over 60 minutes. It was written at the turn of the 19th century by a female author called Kate Chopin. It's anthologized in junior literature textbooks most of the time. I always like to teach it because it's only 2 pages long. And if you're in my 1302 class next semester, you will be reading it. It's kind of interesting. It's a very feminist statement from 1900 is all I have to say. But what is the length of time in your essay? You have to consider what you're going to write about. Remember, you don't want to write about the trip to the Bahamas and you spend half of the paper writing about getting in your car and driving to Dallas, and then the next quarter is spent on the airplane and you only give a quarter to the Bahamas, remember? So focus on, I'm going to just deal with the time we were in the Bahamas. Or I had a student write a similar paper about a trip to Switzerland that she got to make with her parents. And she's talking about hiking up the Alps and doing, and you're like, oh wow, I want your life. It sounds much more exciting than mine. Okay. So 3, what emotional response does your narrative create in you, the writer? So when I was dealing with this student yesterday who was wanting to write about his relationship with his father, I said, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm kind of getting the feeling that there is, some conflict between the two, and that's not unusual. Sons and fathers have their conflicts, right? Because you're growing up, you want to become a man, and dad's just treats you still like you're a little boy, can't make your own decisions. Mothers do that with their daughters, and dads do it even worse with their daughters. Yeah, it's coming, isn't it? Well, he's going to be my example for everything. What can I say? I do have one other student who has a baby on the way, one of my SVC kids. But it's not due until the spring. So it's like you can't write the paper about learning about being a parent. So what is your emotional response? And I'm not actually asking for all the details, okay? But when you're writing about this, I feel sad when I think about this, but I'm happy that our relationship has been corrected, something along those lines. And then do you think you can evoke a similar sense in your reading? That's one of those things. Good writers can do that. Even in fiction, what can we say? Anybody watch Stephen King movies? I have a grandson. I don't like scary movies. Oh, did I tell you about what I did? I flipped the TV over this weekend and A Nightmare on Elm Street was on, and it was I could tell it was at the end, and I was wanting to see what the next movie was. So I turned it on, and it's right at the end, and I guess it's the first one. I don't know. I've never seen any of those movies. I just know what Freddy looks like, okay? Because isn't it Freddy with the melty skin and the cloth? Okay. So I'm sitting there watching it, and the young girl and the guy, they survive whatever's going on. And her mother takes her home, and it's the actress that played the coach's wife on Friday Night Lights. Wasn't that a TV series too? You know, the series about football? Okay. It's her. She's playing the mother, and she goes, I just want you to be well. And you're like seeing the girl in here, and here's her mother facing her, and there's a mirror behind her, and then there's Freddy in the mirror, and he stabs through her head, and blood comes pouring out her eyes, and then the movie ends, and I screamed. And my husband's like, are you okay? And I said, that's why I don't watch horror movies. That is why I don't watch them. Just freaked me out. I can't handle that. I'm lucky my heart's still beating, you know, or didn't stop beating from that. So, can you evoke that response? You don't have to write a scary story, okay? That's all right. You don't have to do that. And then there's only 4 questions on this that you really have to answer. But the hope is good writers can evoke that in you. Stephen King can do that, and there's something about clowns that terrify little children. Have you ever noticed? They don't really like clowns. Little kids don't like clowns because they look so scary with that white makeup and the nose and everything. Okay, and the last one is, does the incident fully support the statement you have chosen? If you're using one of those quotes. But the whole point is do you really get the point across what you're trying to do? Remember, one of those tips that was on clarity was don't tell absolutely every single thing you did, remember? Focus on the important things. So that's what you have to do. So that's not very much, is it? But from that, I'm going to look at that and say, you know, you're going to have to really help me out by telling me what is that conflict or the tension, okay? What's your thesis? What's that last sentence in the introduction? And then I'll kind of just glance at them. And, you know, you're going to get 25 points because you've put in the effort to turn it in and give me almost complete sentences, all right? I would prefer complete sentences, but I realize this is one of those. And if you need to look at somebody else's, you can to see what they do, but you're not required in this discussion board to say anything to anybody else, okay? The reason I do it in the discussion board is because grading a discussion board is a lot easier. Don't upload a document. Copy and paste and fill in the create a thread section, fill in the answers. When you upload a document, I have to stop, I have to download the document, then I have to work on it, and I'm working on this little computer. You know, it's not like I have 2 monitors and I can have one thing up here. So make sure that it's in the create a thread, that you're not attaching a document, okay? It just speeds up my time. That's why I like discussion boards for that. I could care less how much you talk to somebody else in the class. So you guys are going to talk, they're going to talk. Haley doesn't have a whole lot of people to talk to, so that's why she's going to be excited about seeing me tomorrow. Okay. We can play Among Us. Have y'all played Among Us? We played that live person in my house on Saturday night during the tech football game. We were all so we'd have CCC, and then we'd have an I for the imposter, and whoever was I, everybody was walking, facing each other so you could see if somebody's going to try to, and you had to hit somebody in the back to show you were stabbing them to death. We had a blast. We also played it on our phones. All right, so that's what you have to do with the narrative. Let's go talk about comma, splices, and fuse run-on sentences. I know you're thrilled to talk about grammar, aren't you? And I'm thrilled to talk about it to you. So I want to show you one other section. I'm going to cancel out of the thread that I've created. But remember, you guys know how to click and drag, highlight and drag, or Control-A highlights everything on the page, and Control-C copies it, and Control-V pastes it. Keystrokes are so much quicker than using your mouse. Okay, so I'm going to cancel there. So when you go in, if you lose papers, or if for some reason you didn't get a paper, in Course Resources, but I touched it. In Course Resources over here, when you click it, you're going to see there's the SPC tutoring, and you can actually go online, connect it. I guess we'll spend a second here looking, because this is available to the high school kids too. So you're going to have to copy, and it's not an active link. There we go. And it'll take you to the tutoring homepage. So you can drop in, book an appointment through Pingy. That's an app. You can download the app. Okay. But if you can use that link that I have in there. We also have, tutor.com, and I provide the link to tutor.com. I give you Purdue OWL. They won't tutor you because you don't go to Purdue, but they've got a lot of good information in there. But the last thing in course resources is grammar worksheets. So because I can't have a grammar unit out separate, this was the easiest way to do it. So what we're going to look at, we're just going to start off with comma splices. And you have this document. It's a PDF. I don't know how to get rid of this thing on the side. Okay. Oh, better do it this way. Okay. Yeah, I'll work from this because I can blow it up. All right, so this is, I found this online, it's pretty good, but basically a comma splice is a comma that joins or splices together two independent clauses. You remember this from high school, or were taught it last year? All right. And so a fuse sentence, this is a different, slightly different, is it occurs, on the other hand, as it says, occurs when two independent clauses are joined without any punctuation. And so you want to avoid, and comma splices and fuse run-on sentences are major punctuation errors. Too many of these and you will fail an essay, all right? A lot of instructors will not allow any major errors to get an A. I'm a little bit different. It depends on how well you write. You can make an A and have some errors in it for me. Because nobody's, as we say, nobody's perfect, okay? So, and look what it says, in standard written English, American English, comma splices are not allowed. And I'm going to say, you can't go out and look at newspapers, you can't look at popular fiction, because they toss out the rules. I'm not teaching you how to write fiction. I'm not writing for a newspaper. We're not writing for a newspaper. You're writing for an English teacher in an English department. We have to follow the rules. So, here's an example of an independent clause. Robert ate worms. Good for Robert, yeah. This is a clause. Robert is the subject, ate is the verb. The clause is independent because it can stand alone. It expresses a complete thought. We all agree? Here's another one. Mary dislikes Robert. Does she dislike him because he eats worms? I don't know. If you take two independent sentences, clauses, and join them with a comma, you have a comma splice. So Robert ate worms, comma, Mary dislikes Robert. You cannot do that. That's a comma splice major error. You have to have the comma and a conjunction. Do you guys know what fanboys is? Yeah. Let me go to document camera because that might be something that, if you're not familiar with it. Fanboys, F-A-N-B-O-Y-S. These are the coordinating conjunctions. Those are the only conjunctions that get commas before them, not after. You don't put the comma after the but, you put it before the but, okay? So it's for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So that's the acronym, fanboys. So if you want to write this down on this paper so that you'll know if you see a comma, because you're having a grammar quiz in a week and a day, all right? So write that down on this paper on comma splices, and then you know, and it may actually be on it here somewhere, that they've got to have commas in front of them. There are a lot of subordinated conjunctions that when they occur in the middle of the sentence don't get commas. So I guess I ought to talk about awubis too, and that's an awubis word. So back over here. So the splice means to join, so a comma splice could easily have been called a comma join, but that's too simple. All right, so to splice means to join, so let's do that. How do you fix it? You can put a period. There are plenty of ways to fix it. Robert ate worms, period. Mary dislikes Robert, period. All right, use a semicolon. There are only two instances in which you use semicolons. You can join two independent clauses with a semicolon, nothing else. It's just a semicolon, Robert ate worms, semicolon, Mary dislikes Robert. By putting that semicolon between the two words, that means there's a connection between those two thoughts. Because Robert ate worms, and what we're thinking is Robert ate worms, Mary doesn't like him, right? Because he eats worms. That's why you're putting the sentences together. You have to have a reason to put them together. They don't seem like it. You can use a subordinating conjunction, and you can see there's a list. How many of you were told that you shouldn't start a sentence with because when you were in high school? And the reason is, because is a subordinating conjunction, because you're going to get it wrong, is a dependent clause. So if you start a sentence with because, you have to have a comma at the end of the dependent clause, and then you have to have an independent clause. And that's called an awubis, and awubis is an acronym for all the subordinating conjunctions. And they don't give you all of those. In your grammar folder in that course resources, there's actually an awubis page. It gives you all of those to watch out for. But if you say, you will fail this class because you didn't come every day, you don't put a comma in front of because. So you have to be careful. So that's not a major error by putting that comma in. If you put the comma in before because in the middle of the sentence, it's not a major error, but it's an error. Then you can use a semicolon plus a conjunctive adverb, or adverbial conjunctions. They call them both things. So those are those big words like therefore, however. Don't do that with then, okay? But Robert ate worms, therefore, comma, Mary dislikes Robert. So when you have however in the middle of the sentence, when you say the word however, it means the opposite. I like you, however, you eat worms, so we can't get married, something like that, all right? Just making up sentences as I go, all right? And so that's a semicolon, but you're using it to separate two independent clauses with a conjunctive adverb. Use a coordinating conjunction, and so you can see there's fanboys right there. But if you pull it out where you can see it, obviously it's a bit easier. You can't use the words like however and so just because they make grammatical sense. Words mean something. So you have to make sure if you're going to use a conjunction that it gets the meaning across. And sometimes, particularly if you're a Spanish speaker, your first language is Spanish, sometimes that creates conflicts because we have a lot of extra words that Spanish doesn't have for things like this. So you have to be careful. Hold on, I need to check and see what's in my... Okay. I have a student who's trying to move into my class. So we're dealing with the registrar trying to get the student moved around, so. Okay. Where am I at? Nope, that's not the one I want to be in. I have to remember that when I open up a PDF, it opens it up in Bing. I don't like Bing. Do you guys like Bing? I hate it. That's that new Internet Explorer thing. I don't like it. Let me take this down just a little. Okay. So, the words because, therefore, all of those words have meaning, so you have to make sure. I love chocolate because it provides endorphins. I don't know if it does. I just said that. But you have to be careful. Use words cautiously. Okay, so you've got some sentences below. 1, 2, 3, 4, what are there? 10? We have 8 sentences, so let's just say Woman Union and Laz Buddy and SPC, you guys do the odd numbers, and Hale Center, you do the even numbers. The odd numbers are 1, 3, 5, 7. The even numbers are 2, 4, 6, 8. I don't know if they teach that in school anymore, do they? So I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. Bless you. Even if it was a cough, bless you. I'm gonna send to my facilitators the Alubis worksheet for kids to have. I just printed it out, I'll be back. Let me put it on put it on these sentences very quickly. Let me do an email real quick. Gee whiz. Okay, so I have to stop and think. Roger. Becky. I really have something, and Haley. You know, I just send the stuff directly to Haley since she's on around. I mean, and to be honest, you could have just corrected it within the sentence, right? You didn't have to rewrite the entire sentence. How many are rewriting the entire sentence? Sorry. Okay. But you see what I'm saying? You could just make the correction by putting in the conjunction or the semicolon or whatever, and it'd be a lot easier. Okay. So let's look at these real quick. I would have you guys give me answers, but I can so not hear you. We'll see if we can, we'll try it and see. So you guys had the odds, right? Or y'all have the evens? Odds, okay. So, Health Center had the evens, okay, right? They're still working. I like the fact that the first sentence says each sentence below is wrong. It has a comma plus. Okay. Wouldn't that make sense to have an error always be in the sentence? So when you take the grammar quiz for me next Friday, there should always be an error. I may say, if it's true, false, it may say, is this sentence correct or not? That's a harder skill, isn't it? If I tell you there's always an error, and you know, it could either be comma splice or fused run-on, so then, you know, I should make you tell me what kind of an error it is. No, I don't wanna have to redo the test, they're already done. I think they're true, false, it should be easy then, all right. Sentence one, each sentence below is wrong, it has a comma splice, so, we can make this bigger. So if you remember, a comma splice means you've joined two independent clauses, so we see sentence is wrong. Well, actually, it's each is wrong. Sentence below are just modifiers that tell you what each is, okay? It has comma splice, so would you say each sentence below is wrong and it has a comma and it has a comma splice? And makes sense. You wouldn't say but it has a comma splice. It's not the opposite. You have to use and. You could, even better might be so, comma so. Y'all with me? Okay. I want you to have the right answers on this, so when you take that test, you'll have the right answers, okay? Number two, Eliza ran to the store, then she bought some candy. According to them, what should you put in there? Well, and then sounds funny. When you go back to that first page, it says, use a semicolon plus the conjunctive adverb, therefore then, however. So their suggestion is that when you have then, you would go semicolon, then comma, she bought some candy. That's what they're saying to do. I find that a bit complicated. But it makes sense. So did y'all get that? Y'all hearing that at Health Center? Haley? Wellman? Let's see. Yeah, I'm doing all of these three schools first on my Friday, so I think Wellman Union's next. Wellman Union, are you next Friday? Do y'all remember? I have it written down somewhere. I don't have it in my head. There's 9 schools, so, but 2 of them are post. So that's 8 schools. Number 3, the stock market has moved in one direction lately. It has gone down. Comma. What's a good conjunction? Anybody here? Should I put a conjunction? You put a semicolon? Should I put a period in a capital letter? Help me out, help me out. What'd you do? What'd you put? Help me out, come on. I can't hear you.
I don't think we have the same thing.
Are you looking at the one that says comma splices fused run-on? Or did did I give you the wrong one? Because there's... I gave them to you in pairs. It should be, the first sentence says each sentence below is wrong. Did you have that page?
Yeah.
Were you doing fused run-on? Okay. That's all right. Were you doing fused run-on? Just everybody say, yeah, I was doing the wrong page. That's the easiest way to do it. Okay. So, okay, here we are. Stock market has moved in one direction lately. Comma, it has gone down. What do you think, Haley? What'd you put?
I put a semicolon.
Say that again. Let me get closer. What'd you say?
I put a semicolon.
You put a semicolon, okay. That makes sense. I mean, because you would go, and it has gone down. I mean, you could put and, but it has moved in one direction lately. I would say, I would have put semicolon, sadly, comma, it has gone down. Right? Because when my stock market goes down, the value of my stock goes down, so I get less dividends. I have so much stock. Okay. Let's go to the next one, number 4. Elvis Presley was a great singer. He was never really accepted by country music's mainstream. I never thought of Elvis Presley as being a country singer. Yeah, he was like, early rock to me. Because country and western singers don't swing their hips like he did, which was very upsetting, to people my age back then. So I thought he was cute, but Was a great singer. All right, so, but let's talk about that sentence. Somebody at, Health Center wanna tell me, what do you think? What'd y'all do with that one, with 4? I'm gonna come over where I can listen. Elvis Presley was a great singer. Comma, what'd you put there?
Comma, but.
Say that again?
Comma, but.
Comma, but, that would work. And notice the comma goes in front of the but, not after. Or you could do semicolon, and you could use that famous word, however, comma. That would work well. So good job. Yeah, that's one where you're not gonna say, and he was never, because and is the wrong connection. Because the second one is the opposite of the first one. Now, when you write, please be careful and don't give me 2 howevers in one paragraph. Because, you know, you can't have, too many exceptions creates a problem logically, all right? And you don't need 2 buts within 3 sentences of each other. I like this, but this, and then later on, but this, you know. And I don't care, you can start a sentence with but, you can start a sentence with because, just make sure you've got complete sentences there, all right? So we go to 5. I'm gonna go try to get through these fast so that we can cover a few run-ons too. Actually, I want to show you another program. Computer programs help us live saner lives. Obviously, the people who write them should make lots of money. And I'm still waiting for my son to get there. Okay? So you can't, it's a comma splice. Semicolon would be the easiest way to do it, just to put a semicolon there. There's only one other time you use a semicolon, and that's when you have a list in a sentence that has internal punctuation. I'm not going to go over that, but I don't want to see comma and, comma but. I can see comma, however, comma therefore, comma meanwhile. And if you are unsure if something is a conjunctive adverb, all you have to do is Google, what are the conjunctive adverbs? It's that easy. So don't sit there and go, oh, I know it's a, no, I do that all the time. I'll check spelling on stuff because I'm not the greatest speller, but I'll go in and what are the conjunctive adverbs? And so they give you a list of them, conjunctive adverbs list. Conjunctive adverb, Wikipedia, But you've got all these great little diagrams, so they give them to you there. Examples, consequently, okay. So, and they tell you what the function of the conjunctive adverbs is here on this one. So the word additionally, conjunctive adverb, semicolon in front of it, comma. And then they tell you kind of what they mean. That's a handy one to have. I'm not going to print it out for you because it looks like it's for maybe learners of other languages or learners of English. All right, so let's go back over to Bing. Dubai, did I say that correctly? Yeah. Dubai has built magnificent office towers with luxuries and conveniences. It is considered a great location in which to conduct international business. Semicolon, period, capital letter, or you could go and, comma, and. It is, so it is considered, you could put so after it. See how so changes the meaning slightly from and? So because of that, so it is considered, see how it's, because of this, it's a because word in a way, cause and effect. Brazil has won several World Cups, championships. I didn't create this document. They are always considered a good team. Didn't they lose the last World Cup? Brazil? Didn't they? Oh, well, we watch soccer. I like women's soccer better, but yeah. So, semicolon, and, comma, and. All right. Oh, we'll see what I can pronounce. The Quaid-i-Azam campus of Punjab University is considered excellent. It attracts many students. Therefore, semicolon, therefore, comma, it attracts many students. See how that works on that one? Okay, let's go look at fused run-ons. You have 2 explanations on fused run-ons. When you look at it, you're going to see it's a lot like the other one. It's by the same organization. So it tells you what a fused run-on is and a little, oh, why did I do that? That's not the plus, here we go. It tells you what it is, but it's basically when you don't use punctuation, when you have complete thoughts grouped together. So they give you examples. My father designs and installs wind turbines. He travels all over Saudi Arabia as an energy consultant. So the first clause ends, my father designs and installs wind turbines. Dot ends. He travels all over Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, I would just say Saudi Arabia personally, as an energy consultant. So, you have to be careful of that. And so they give you some examples. And they give you, this sentence has 4 clauses, the one above it. Fashion shows in the clothes we wear. It is constantly changing and repeating itself. Although fashion in the form of haute couture is everywhere, it tells you what it is, dependent. It isn't for everyone. And by the way, I just gave my students the copy of the AWUBIS, which gives you the subordinating conjunctions. If you look for in the A in the AWUBIS, you're going to see that it says that although is the subordinating conjunction. So if you begin a sentence with a subordinating conjunction, that's what the AWUBIS is telling you, you have to have a comma at the end of the dependent clause. Although fashion in the form of haute couture is everywhere, comma, it isn't for everyone. You see how I put those two together? If you put a dependent clause at the beginning, you have to have a comma at the end of the dependent clause, not the AWUBIS word at the end of the dependent clause. If you take that out and just say, fashion in the form of haute couture is everywhere, see how that spot stands on its own? Come back over here so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here. So this word is the subordinating conjunction, but you don't put punctuation after it, you put it at the end of the dependent clause, so you would put a comma right after that E. So fixing it, there are lots of ways to do it. You've got to have a comma and a conjunction, a semicolon, a period, you know. It's basically, fixing it's almost the same as the other. So look over this, but before we do that, I want to show you a website that is great to review on for grammar. And it is called Grammar Bites, okay? Or Chomp Chomp. And it's B-Y-T-E-S, not B-I-T-E-S. Chomp Chomp, Grammar Bites. And so it's got, it's a free place to go to work on grammar and punctuation. Come on, hold on. All right, something wacky happening there. Let me try this again. This time I'm going to type in chomp chomp, chomp chomp. And I'm going to bypass and go straight to exercises. So, I don't know what's happening to the website. But if you look down here, you're going to see it has comma splices and few sentences. That is a set of exercises on what you're going to be tested on. So exercise 1, interactive exercise, we'll just go with exercise 1. So you click on that. How do I get rid of this thing? That is something that's happened new. It's driving me crazy. It's driving me crazy. There should be, I hate those drop-down banners that you can't get rid of, and that's exactly what's happening here. So you're recognizing comma splices and fused run-ons. If you guys tried this at home, maybe it won't happen. There's a handout, but there's also rules, and what they do is they tell you, let me see if I can, maybe I have to answer the terms. This has happened since last fall. They define they go main clause plus 0 plus main clause equals death. That's wrong. As a writer, you must keep in mind that comma splices and fused sentences make you look like an amateur. Okay. So I get down here. All the prizes are cyber, which means they have no physical reality and cannot be. I was trying to get past it. Interesting. Let me go back into 1. I hate it when websites do strange things. They tell you what it is, and then as you scroll down, it says start here. So item 1, read the item below, then answer the questions that follow. See how it says, Julie is a real hypochondriac. When her stomach hurts, she is certain that she has a bleeding ulcer, and if she has a backache, she believes that she has cancer of the spine. Fuse run-on, comma splice. There's a lot of things going on in this sentence. So what you do, is it a comma splice? You select, or is it a fused sentence? So you have to select what the problem is. So let me go look. Okay, it's a fused run-on, I'll just tell you. Either way, you're in a price. So I'm going to say it's a fused run-on. So I'm going to click this one, and it says you're a wow! You want a cool cyber car. the item was fused. Now, let me go back, let's see if it'll let me take it back. If I click comma splice, it says it did not contain a comma splice, but what it gives you is keep the counter. See how it says get an explanation? It explains what's going on in the sentence, which I think is cool. But I'm not crazy about that banner showing up at the top anymore. That is something that just, Robin, you gotta get rid of that. Okay, so that's Grammar Bites. It's a resource that you have. So let's go back and look at that exercise. And let's just work through this together. So Janine's uncle, question 1. Y'all found this one? This is the one you were doing earlier, right, Mason? Okay. Janine's uncle never graduated from high school. He started his own landscaping company at 16. How'd you fix it, Mason? Okay, and if you put a semicolon in however, you have to have a comma after the however. Okay, good. So, Mason here put a semicolon right here after high school. Typed in however, I can't type in because it's PDF, and put a comma after however. Or comma, but, okay, comma, but he started his own landscape company at 16. Wow. Somebody at one of my schools that I have on Monday, Wednesday, has their own candy company, and they make dolce, or enchiladas, dulce, or dolce? Dulce, okay. Sweet enchiladas, which are basically like dessert enchiladas, right? And they take hundreds of orders all the time. I was like, cool. And why are you in my college? Because individual wants to get a business degree. I have had a Mac computer for a year already. I have no regrets about buying it. What do y'all think? I've had a Mac computer for a year already. I have no regrets about buying it. I've said that so that you cannot figure out where it splits. Did you notice? Are you saying, does it go with you or does it go with I? With what? Okay, you're saying already is the problem word. So does the first independent clause end at year, or does it and begin at already, or does it end at already and begin at I? That's what I'm asking.
I think it begins at I.
You think it begins at I?
Well, after already. Yeah,
After already, okay. See, this is good that I have, and I agree with you. Because if you say, I have had a Mac computer for a year, period, then your sentence would begin, already I have no regrets about buying it. Already doesn't make sense, does it? So already should be attached. So you need your punctuation, semicolon, comma, and after already. Or comma, for, comma, so. For is, we don't use for very often as a coordinating conjunction, but sometimes it works. It makes better sense than and. People make their way across the desert. They arrive in trucks with little ventilation, and they are often beaten by the men who smuggle them. Why am I thinking of the evacuation of Afghanistan right now? They've actually had several people have made it across land out of Afghanistan. They were talking about that earlier this week. So, what do you think, Rodney? Where do we have our fused run-on? We don't have a comma splice. Because if you look at comma and, look how they are often beaten by the men who smuggle them. That's not a comma splice. So it's got to be in that first half of that sentence.
After desert?
Yeah, after desert. So what would you do? We're almost out of time. No pressure. Comma, so they often arrive, so they arrive in trucks with little ventilation. Yeah, makes sense. It almost sounds like smuggling illegal aliens into the U.S., doesn't it? Okay, I'll do a couple more. These political victories add up. It's not just money, but dignity at home and on the job. All right, they give it away on this one, because you see how you have a capital I in its? That's a capital I. So these political victories add up. Semicolon. It's not just money, but dignity at home. That's the easiest way to do it. They gave it away. Hopefully, I didn't do that. Immigrants can be, and you realize there's different ways to spell immigrants, and one means immigrants are the people